Hello, in this video we are going to see in IBM Cloud Pak for Multicloud Management how a service can be composed to provision a VM in AWS Cloud, followed by installing monitoring agents in the provision VM. First, let's look at the Terraform template which needs to be imported. This Terraform template creates a T2 micro EC2 VM in AWS Cloud, and it gives these three variables as template outputs. It gives the public IP and the SSH private key to log into the provision VM as the output for this template. Let's look at the Ansible playbooks used for this service composition. In this Ansible repository, we use two playbooks, one to install prerequisites required for the monitoring agents, and another is the downloading and configuring the monitoring agent. This playbook executes and downloads the monitoring agent image into the TMP downloaded image directory, and it uses the downloaded config pack in the VM to configure the download image and places it in the configured image directory inside the temp in the provision VM. In this repository, we use download config pack Ansible playbook to download the config pack, and these are the various parameters required for the download config pack Ansible playbook. We also use another playbook, or the main playbook we can say, to install monitoring agents on the provision VM. Various parameters for this playbook can be seen in the Knowledge Center. Install_ICAM agent. This is the playbook used to install monitoring agents. These two playbooks are provided by product team. So we are going to use this repository and Ansible playbooks repository for installing prereqs and configuring the downloading and configuring the agent image. Now let's go to IBM Cloud Pak for Multicloud Management console to see how we can import the template and how we can compose a service. I am navigating to Automate Infrastructure and Manage Services to compose a service. In the interest of time, I have already composed a service and also imported the template. However, I'm going to show how to do that. We can go to Terraform Templates tab under Manage Service Library, and we can import any Terraform templates existing in a Git repository or other source control systems. We can go and import the template by clicking on Import Template. We can select the template source repository type, and we can provision and we can provide the repository link to import the template. And if it is a private repo, we can give the access token. On clicking import, the templates will be imported. Here I already have this template imported. This template we are going to use in the service being composed. We need to have the cloud connections created to provision VMs in the desired cloud, and also we need to have the Ansible tower configured in Manage Service Library. We can perform that by going to Manage tab, Cloud Connections. We need to give the credentials for the account where we need to provision VMs. So I already have one Amazon EC2 cloud provider configured, and I also have an Ansible tower which is part of this MCM console configured here. We can click on Create Connection and create Ansible connection as well as desired cloud connection. Now let's go to Compose service. create service to create a new service. However, in the interest of time, I have already created one service. Let us see what are the steps to create service. We need to provide various fields in the create service dialog, and we can pick an appropriate category and we can click on create service. In the composition tab, all the templates which are imported in managed services are visible. We can choose our desired template for this service. I'm going to select create micro EC2 Terraform template, which creates a T2 micro VM in AWS Cloud. We need to select the configured cloud connection here, and we can give the parameters. The template takes various parameters, and we can choose to take this from the user as input while deploying the service. So let us take AWS instance name from the user. We need to click on the parameter and click on the link parameter and create to take this from the user. And we can also give the default value. And the user can override this default value as well. We can also choose to take keeper name from the user. I'm going to leave it the same value as the default value. So these two values will be shown as the input values to be provided by user at the time of service deployment. All other fields I'm going to hardcode as it is. And AWS AMI owner ID, we need to give the appropriate owner ID of the AMI image being used. So here it is Linux Amazon AMI, so we can keep it as Amazon, or we can choose any other also. Then we need to create Ansible Tower credential with the SSH key, which is given as the output of this template. We can go to parameters and give a credential name suffix if required, and the username of any Amazon EC2 VM is EC2 user, so I'm going to give that, and SSH private key. So once the VM is provisioned, this template will output the SSH private key, and here we need to give it as input while creating the credential. So I'm going to link parameter and I'm going to choose template and output variable VM underscore SSH underscore private key. I am linking it to the credential. And we need not give any password as we are using SSH private key. Next, I am going to create inventory. We need to use the public IP of the provision VM to create an inventory. So here Ansible connection is being selected. We can give an inventory name. We can choose to create the inventory with the service instance name, which is stored in this variable. And we can choose to select a group, or if we do not want to create any host group, we can directly add the host by linking the parameter. And here I am going to select the VM public IP of the provision VM. So An inventory in the Ansible tower will be created with the host as the public IP of the provision VM. After this, we need to use various Ansible job templates which are available in our Ansible tower. Let us look at the Ansible playbooks which are configured in Ansible tower. This is dashboard of Ansible tower. We have to configure two projects, one for monitoring agents related playbooks. So this is the repository cloned from repository provided by product team. This has a download config pack and monitoring agent installation playbooks, and along with that I am using two playbooks which I have written for installing prerequisites for monitoring agent and to download and configure the agent image. Those playbooks reside in this repository. After defining the projects, we need to define job templates. Here I have already defined, I'm going to show that. First one is download config pack job template. So in all the job templates, we need to leave the inventory and credentials blank, and we need to select prompt on launch. That is because we are taking these values from the service as we have already configured. Those inventory and credentials get created on the fly when the service gets deployed, and those credential and inventory is created dynamically from the service will be placed here. So download ICAM folder download config pack Ansible playbook is configured for this job template. It takes 3 variables, extra variables. Those are configured here. We can hardcode this config pack type and target directory. So here we have configured target directory as /tmp, and account ID we can take it from the user at the time of service installation or deployment. We need to select prompt on launch for variables as well, as we are taking account ID from the user. Similar way, I have configured install prereqs job template. This uses the Ansible playbook in this project, that is install prereq for monitoring agents. It does not need any variable. It finds out the OS, and depending on the OS it installs the prerequisites. And download and configuring agent job template. This again uses the playbook in the sample playbooks repository project. Download configuring monitoring agent. For this we need to give the URL of the agent image to be downloaded from. So from this location it downloads the monitoring agent tar file. We need to again take this link as an input from the user, and it uses the config pack downloaded already, and using that it configures the agent image which is downloaded. So this one variable we need to pass for this job template, and the last job template is the main one which installs the monitoring agent on the provisioned VM. For this we are using this project CP4MCM monitoring agent, and in this directory there is a install _ ICAM agent playbook which we can use to install monitoring agent. So the agent image path is the configured agent image. So as per the playbook code, it creates configured image directory, and it configures the downloaded image using the config pack present in TMP and places the configured image in this location. So we need to give this complete path as the input for this playbook, and also agent names which needs to be installed. Here we are installing OS agents, so these values also can be hard coded in this job template. Point to be noted, we need to have this enable privilege escalation selected for install prereqs and install monitoring agent job templates, because they need privilege escalation as it involves installation jobs. So these are the configuration for all the job templates. We need to have this prompt on launch selected for inventory and credentials, and enable privilege escalation we need to select for installing monitoring agent and prereqs job templates. And whenever we have to take extra variable from the user, we need to have variables also prompt on launch selected, but here we have hard coded this value, so no need to select that. Let us go to service composer, and first we have to download config pack job template has to be selected and drag dropped here. So once we create credential and inventory, we are invoking this job template to execute the job of a config pack download. Here in the parameter section, first let me show you the inventory name. We need to link the parameter which has been created here. Inventory name is the output of this Ansible inventory task. So we are selecting this inventory, and also we are creating the credentials which has been created using the SSH private key in the previous step. So here I am going to select the output of this credential name task. So once the inventory and credentials have been selected for the job template, if any extra variables are there, we can add it here. So for the download config pack, we can see the extra variable here. Only account ID we are taking from the user, so I'm going to select that. Here prompt on launch has to be selected, and I'm going to place it here, paste it here. This value will be taken from the user, and I'm saving that. So similar way, we need to drag and drop all these job templates, install prereqs. So first is the download config pack, and next we need to install the prereqs. In the prereqs there is also archive extracting modules which are needed to extract the download config pack. So make sure as soon as the download config pack job template is executed, install prereqs has to be executed. Then we are going to perform download of agent image and configuring the downloaded image task. So for all of this we need to select this credential and this inventory like we did for this job template, and at the end we need to select the install monitoring agent task. So this is how we need to compose a service for the complete automation of installation of monitoring agent. So as I have already created a service, let me show you that, and we can publish that service and we can use it. AWS EC2 Micro, I'm going to show you the composed service. So here you can see credential inventories have been created, then download config pack, install prereqs, downloading and configuring the agent image, and installing monitoring agent has been composed in a sequential manner. So this is the workflow which we would be needing. And you can see here that Terraform template, we have given a RHEL image for creation. So it's an RHEL image, and names we are going to take from the user as I have explained. Let's publish this template. We need to select certain namespaces and give access to those namespaces for accessing this service. Only then it will appear in the service library. So let us assign access. I'm selecting two namespaces and assigning access. So now this service is published. When the end user logs in, he can go to service library and consume the service published there. I'm navigating to service library now. We can see the list of all published services over here. If a user who has logged in is having access to the namespaces, and if the service is published in that namespace, only then the user can access. So I'm going to deploy this service AWS EC2 Micro with monitoring agent installation. So this is the OS flavor, which is going to be of provision VM, and this is the operating system, and the configuration which it will have is the CP4MCM monitoring agents. So I'm going to select that namespace, and I'm going to give a name for the service instance. And I'm going to leave this instance name as the default one, and I'm going to give the account ID, and for the time being I have my image in the private repo. I have just made it public for a while, and I'm going to give this path as the source image file to download, and I'm going to deploy this. Once we click on deploy, it would take time to provision a VM. Followed by the provisioning of VM, it would create Ansible inventories and credentials with the public IP and SSH private key of the provisioned VM, and then it would invoke all the job templates which we have configured as part of this service to install monitoring agents in the VM. Okay, now that it is some time, it has provisioned VM as part of installation of this service, and it has executed all the activities which are part of this service. We can see in the activity instances, create micro to EC2 on AWS, and then creating a credential inventory, then executing all these job templates. So we can go to log file and check the logs of the complete service instance, and there is also activity log with which we can see logs per activity, and we can go to Ansible Tower and check the credential it has created. You can see here that MA test instance was our instance name, and it has created credential with that name. If we go and check, it would have created the user with EC2 user as we had given, and it has encrypted the SSH private key of the provision VM and stored in this credential. If we go to inventories, we can see this MA test instance inventory, and in the hosts we can see that the public IP of the provision VM. So this is my AWS console. Here we can see the VM being provisioned and also the public IP. So that has been stored in the inventory. So if we go to jobs, we can see that these jobs have been executed in order: download config pack, install prereqs, download and configure the agent image, and then installing the monitoring agent. So monitoring agent installation has been successful in the provisioned VM. So once this is completed, we can see that the VM is being monitored in the MCM console. Let us go and check that. So the complete DNS of the provision VM is 172.31.40.146. Let us check that. Monitor health, infrastructure monitoring. Linux systems, and 4146. Yeah, here it is. So we can see that monitoring data from the provision VM has been started appearing in our monitoring page of IBM Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. Thank you.